Welcome back, everybody, on this bloody Monday here on episode 75 of Hero Labs Live. I'm your host, Random Task, RT for short. That is Random Task 555 on Twitter if you're looking for me. And you can find us on Twitter also at Real Hero Labs, HXRO Labs. And I'm just going to pull up, I'm going to make sure, Google account loves to swap me out here right as we start. So give me a sec, guys. Wild things happening in the market today. Is it the top? Was it the top? What to do? How to trade it? We're going to talk about all that stuff today. We're also going to have a special guest on today named Q from Layer 1 on YouTube channel. Put a lot of really good content, authentic and refreshing. And it was actually, oh my gosh. Okay. I cannot seem to switch account. Okay. Hey guys, I'm just trying to get onto the YouTube chat here. One sec. We did have this issue pre-stream. That's why we're a couple minutes behind. Anyways, yeah. So really good content coming out from Layer 1. And Q is here today just to kind of talk markets, talk shop, teach us a little bit about social tokens. They have their own token over there called LADZ token, L-A-D-Z, L-A-D-Z, depending where you're from. So we're going to get into that. And then really, my focus today is, buy dip, question mark, what dips, where to get them, I mean, I gotta come clean with you guys. I ate some shit this morning, shit that I didn't necessarily have to eat. It was not tasty at all. It's one thing to like have a setup and get stopped out on that setup, and if we keep going down now in a weird way, I'll feel validated because I am stopped out of the long that I took this morning. But right after I got stopped out of the long, price bounced. And I know that that's like your typical thing, but I waited for so many levels to come in. And I was like, I'm so patient and I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for that. I waited for the low retest, like all this stuff. And you know what? It just goes to show this is why you got to manage risk. If I was fairly confident in my setup today. And but I manage risk. This position is small, didn't lose more than a couple percent of my account. And it still feels like shit. I decided this morning that I think I hate losing more than I like winning. And that's my own inner battle as a trader. I've got to work on balancing out. So it's like, love, hate doesn't really come into it because those are emotions. You want to trade a little more algorithmically. We'll take a look at a few blockchain stocks that came off today as well. And then really just altcoins. So a lot of really nice looking altcoin charts, and they were really nice looking last week, but they were kind of out of the buy zones. Some of them are coming back in. Today really just marked like a retest of a bullish breakout. So wiping that sort of emotion out of the picture, objectively speaking, I need to be a buyer today in certain levels. But we'll get into that later. For now, I want to introduce our guest today. So we've got Q here in the studio. Good to see you, Q. And that is the Q for our producer to fire you up the screen. I know Jono is busy at work pushing the stream key. Hey, how's it going?
What's up, RT? What's going on, my man?
Not too much. As you can hear, I just laid out my entire daily happenings as we kicked off today. But volatility is really the gift for a trader. And it's my understanding you're more on the investment side in this space and content creation side versus like day trading kind of stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've had that same similar scenario come out where I've gotten stopped out right before a big bounce. And I think I did it twice. And then that was it for me. I'm more of a long-term hold, fundamental type driven investor, definitely. But it's always fun to talk with guys like yourself who are actively day-to-day kind of getting involved in trading.
Keeping an eye on things. Yeah. I mean, the weird thing is I didn't touch my futures account for like, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, which, as it turns out in retrospect was a mistake because the long and buy the dip has been working so well for months. And I was just really focused on other things. Like you said, even like just content stuff, investment stuff and altcoins and charts. And I just wasn't as keen rushing in. And mostly because everything just on the higher time frames, I was like, I feel like I missed the long. It's probably early to short. So I was losing interest. And then after the huge dump today, I was like, okay, cool. Let's see what levels are coming in. And I was so patient because I know that, right? That it's just uncanny. No matter how patient and no matter how sort of, waiting at that exact level and really trying to snip the bottom of whatever local move, it's still uncanny that despite that, it happens. And then suddenly it's like, whoop, there goes your stop. And then as soon as it happened, I tweeted, I was like, I
Here it
am fairly
comes.
certain that was the bottom. Yeah.
Yep.
But I'm still not, in a position to rush to long it. So we're going to look at some levels, guys. I know there's probably a lot of anxiety here in the market today, as there should be on a super volatile day. I think we're looking at a 23% drop in Ethereum price in the last 24 hours. That is not small change. We're down below $1,000 again for the first time since January 5th. That's like 3 days ago. But when it comes from the highs, especially if you didn't capture any of that gain in between, it can be really painful. Start to reflect, and then you ask yourself, is this it? Is this the start of a bigger move? So I really want to unpack that question today so that we can make informed, objective decisions here heading into the week. So we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
Q, let's start with the chart. I know you're not heavy TA, which is like fair enough. But for the sake of,
Your
just
channel.
The channel and what we're seeing, and we want to make sure that everyone in here gets a quick look at the charts to start. I know that, personally, especially on a volatile day, if I go see a channel that I'm expecting to hear about what the fuck is happening. A little later on in the show, we're going to dive into social tokens. And my understanding is you guys actually created one for your community called Lads Token.
That is true. That is true. That happened. We have a lot of lads in the house here today. That's what our community is known as well as our social token. So shout out to those guys. But yeah, man, take me through the charts. I'll definitely have some comments. Obviously, a lot of us from 2017 kind of felt that euphoria here when Bitcoin hit 40K, and then we had ETH kind of go over 1,300 there, and it was just that feeling. If you had been in here from 2017, and maybe you took some profits, but. Sure.
Well, that was actually our discussion on Friday. Was like, is this euphoria? Is this just us exiting disbelief? All this like emotional introspection kind of thing, trying to figure out. And I definitely had shades of euphoria where I was like, holy shit, this has been a great year. But I remember the euphoria from 2017. It was not that. Looking around, if you want to look at just say like any number of altcoins, looking at those charts, is that euphoric? But then you look at this Bitcoin chart and it's like, oh, fuck me, man. Look at that. Like, holy. Yeah. And, the question then is like, well, yes, there should be a pullback. Yes, there needs to be. This is not unusual. A $10,000 drop within 24 hours, that's uncomfortable as hell. But if you look at the chart, not one person in the world would be like, I can't believe that happened. Like that. It's just, and that's the nature of markets. You get too many people up here in profit looking to cut that. They've had a great year because a lot of the money that's selling up at these highs, they built positions down here. And unfortunately, you get all your buddies, all those people that text you around the highs and they say, hey, is this a good time to buy Bitcoin? And they're all getting dumped on. And that is just the way it goes every single time. So it is unfortunate. But look, I want to get into, I had the chart here pre-stream, but it seems to have reset. So give me a sec, guys. BTC.
Yeah, I want to fill this as well because I listened to your episode on Friday. I believe it was Nick, but it might have been someone else as well. I listened to one of your episodes, and you were talking about institutions being in 2017, which I feel like a lot of people don't associate with that time frame. I think a lot of people are talking about 2020 having a lot of institutions in, but is the amount and the I guess the amount of money that's flowing in 2020, in 2021, does that change how long we see and how far this pullback can go? Is that's more of the question? I know this is your channel, but I'm throwing that question at you.
Absolutely. No. This is us just hanging out, man. It's not even technically my channel. It's, it's actually similar to yours. You guys have a bit of an umbrella offering. We've got Daniel over here, Crypto Messiah coming on and posting videos. Anyways, yeah. So sorry, rephrase that question real quick for me just to.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were talking about institutions and the fact that I think a lot of people in crypto today, especially the new folks, maybe they don't even think about this, like going back that far. But the fact that this is more of an institutional kind of led bull run when you have 2017 more retail, more ICO focused, all that good stuff. So does the fact that the institutions are in, at least to a certain extent, and the fact that they're in at these with 400 mil, 300 mil. You see all these stories coming in every week. Does that change how this pullback will look as opposed to 2017, which was super focused on the ICO, and therefore when that kind of came crashing down,
just rugged.
Rug is definitely the right word. So I hope I rephrased that question well enough.
Yeah, no, I got it. And I mean, I think the question is like the speculation is that this is a institution driven bull market, and that's different because here it was more retail driven. And in fact, when the futures went live, which is ideal, what's the word I'm looking for? Which is really like when the institutions perhaps got their best access, which was the CME futures, that actually marked the top. So they did not long that market in publicly, anyways. They were shorting it. And so the question being then, how is this different? Well, first of all, I kind of scoffed at that line where it's like, well, institutions are driving this and they just won't sell. I personally, I got a DM last week from a guy who's at a big fund, millions and millions of dollars. And I mean, they liquidated a very large Bitcoin position last week. I know, it's just markets, right? So when it's overbought, when it's showing signs of divergence, when there's money to be made to the other direction, they will sell. Some of them will sell. And of course, then there's things like, that mutual insurance company in the States, Massachusetts, like they're going to buy $100 million. They're looking for, the one argument I got that I liked is that oh, well, they're looking for store of value, right? So they're not here to make money. They're just here as a hedge, small percentage of their holdings, moving it over to Bitcoin as sort of an asset hedge. And so they don't care if it's 40,000, 20,000, 25,000. It's more like a 5-10 year play. And that's fair. And they're probably not rushing to sell today. I doubt that they would have the liquidity to do that in a day anyways. But yes, there is absolutely more active hedge funds that are going to buy and sell through this cycle. So the question for me is really, the big question, was that the top? The top is not in yet. I will tell you that. And from a TA perspective, and here's why. First of all, it's just one down candle in a series of up candles. So there's no structure to work with, right? This is pretty gross. This is kind of an Eiffel Tower looking formation fractal thing we've got working on here. But you guys know, and I've been talking about this quite a while, we need bearish market structure for me to call tops, or we need a blow off top. This was not a blow off top, right? For that, you would have like this big stupid wick. It's absolute insanity. And then like it closes back down and then it comes down. Like there's your blow off top. We got a bit of that in 2017. That was a little closer, but even in 2017, whoa, where is it? Right here. Actually not as much of a blow off top there, probably on the weekly, but what we did get in 2017 was a clear break in market structure. So I want to show you guys that. Is this 2017? Yeah. So when you get the move up and then the breakdown right here, and then you had this close, that was confirmed bearish market structure. And so at that point, I would say, okay, let's put on the fib and let's look to that short reload zone. This is where the big battle is going to be. And as you can see, the bears won the battle and that was the end of the bull market. Theoretically, it ended here, and then this was all just a big short squeeze. So looking for something like that, but how long did that take? That was December 17th. And then the real exit or short wasn't until January 7th. It was almost a month. So can we call kind of a top today based on, that's just my way of looking at this. And I've seen it on the bottoms and tops of basically every major move, that kind of thing. So we went over that last Monday for anyone who's interested on the interview with Jeff. So if you want to see what the hell I'm talking about, skim through that one. So yeah, right here, I'm half expecting, whether we go down a little more or up a little more, at some point, there will be that debate, that question. Can we get up here? And when we get up here, is it on fumes and there's a lot of volume coming in? Or, there's just nothing left in the tank? It'll be really obvious, hopefully. And then you can get into some kind of shorts. And then, there's your trade, or like at least exiting. So
boy, you definitely were not lying about that daily candle. That daily candle looks ugly.
It is so savage. Yeah, it's so savage. And, it's the biggest down day candle in Bitcoin history in dollar terms. But that's normal because we're up so high now that, 1K moves are like the norm. But you also want to keep in mind that this was a bull market. And we talked about this last week too, right? If you look back at 2017, it's like, oh man, that was so lucky. Everything was just going crazy. But there was weeks at a time where there was monster drawdowns where there was the Bcash FUD or the China ban Bitcoin, 40% drawdown from high to low there. And that wasn't, that was like, oh, look at that big nasty dump. And then obviously at this time, 5K basically was the all-time high. So there's everyone's, that was the top. Peter Schiff was tweeting about the bubble being done, right? Nothing's
He's
changed.
still doing that.
He's still doing that. Yeah. Bless his heart. So, I mean, there was an opportunity here to short. This is the big capitulation move. This was the China ban. But these are daily candles. So think about what it feels like when you're euphoric and it's like, oh, we're at the highs. And then it's like, okay, 3 days of down, squeeze up. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days more down, like an entire week of waking up and just losing money. And then on the 6th day, you just take the biggest hit yet. And then on the 7th day, it just absolutely nukes. And most people at that point will sell. That's just the emotion of it. It's like, well, I'm smart. I'm seeing all these charts on Twitter that tell me I can get it way back down here, like a retest of this. So I'm just going to get out because I'm sick of this shit. I've lost most of my money or, my gains. And then sure enough, it just reverses and move on. And everyone realizes that China can't ban Bitcoin. So, is that what we're seeing now as part of a bigger cycle? That is actually what I expect. I don't expect that this is like the ultimate top and we have to have a whole bear market now. That's just kind of premature. I think part of the larger parabolic move, and again, we have to use this because this is the best example we have. There's a huge parabolic move, like absolute mania. And it took 1, 2, 3 little mini bubbles, if you will call it, in between where it just ran insanely hot, got insanely overbought, and then unwound for a few weeks, and then insanely overbought, and then unwound for a few weeks, and then just So yeah, but this looks just insane. So when I look at this chart, and we talked about this each week, even the tweet I put out last night, the weekly views, is this a place for people to be coming in and buying their first Bitcoin? Is this a place for savvy investors getting long? No, not a chance. Don't do it. There's things you can buy if you want to proxy into this market that are probably a little better value, better ROI, blah, blah, blah.
ETH.
Ethereum is also looking a little bit insane right now, but the ETH, I should just pull it up. Weekly views. Where is it?
Yeah, as far as the people who personally reach out to me at this point, I would agree with you. I'm not sending them to buy Bitcoin right now. I think ETH has much better kind of upside when it comes to can it hit 2, 3, 4K. I think I see that before I see Bitcoin hitting 100K. So definitely more interested in ETH at this point for anybody entering the market.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's this is why I'm on the wrong bloody chart. There we go. Yeah, it's like, this is not the place where friends call friends and tell them to buy. Unfortunately, it is weirdly, like it's where people actually say like, oh, I told you, man, but you can still get in because we're going 100K. Like, even if it's a super bullish asset and it's going to be the next reserve currency and all this stuff, even if that's all true, there's just going to be cycles along the way. And so what I always say is like the pump chaser fib is a great place if you just want to, if you want to get long, but you're not sure from where, like we actually just front ran that. So if we recover from this, that's actually really bullish in a weird, subtle way, because this is the 382. I should switch it so people can see better. But I always tell people like, if you're looking at this saying, I want to buy, wherever that ends up being, just get this fib out, because most things, even if they're going on, they will come back and check this 382 level quite a bit. And we'll see it all over. If you guys, watch the channel, check it out, you will see this kind of stuff happening all the time. And it actually, kind of happened down here. Didn't quite get the checks. And that's been part of why this is so bullish. If it doesn't even get a 382 on a dump and then it continues, it's a really good internal sign that's like, there's so much buying power. They're not even letting it get there. People are front running it. So anyways, we kind of almost got that today. And yeah, for what it's worth, this was my trade. No, that's not. It's a lie. I moved it down because I was like, what would it have looked like if it was successful? This was my trade, right? And I didn't long any of this shit. I was like, look, we got to give it some time. We're coming into this reload zone. We're making new lows. Look at that. The RSI stopped going down. It's reversing. Internal bullishness, maybe some divergence. And so then I got long, and my stop was this fucking 786, which I figured, it's like giving it another $60 below. And sure enough, it stopped me out, and then it actually moved up. So anyways, we're going to see, I think this will take some time down here. It makes sense. At least this is an hourly. But, this is an area where we want to see support and consolidation. And then if we come back up, I think we have our range drawn. A lot of the guys here, they know I like to talk about fib pong, where you draw the fib back to the other side as well. And this can be really easy trading if you know how to spot it, if it feels easy. But that's just where, you come into the reload zone, buyer step in, they have a little battle, then it squeezes all the late shorters up, and then you get up into here and all the late bulls jump back into the positions they sold. And then you get up here and there's a little argument, and then you come back in, and it's actually kind of sick. And I think it's why you get triangles. So, you guys, I mean, you must recognize those pennants, right? You see them all the time, just these like this kind of thing right here. Market consolidation always tends to look like a triangle, and then it breaks, right? And my theory is basically just that's a nature of these fibs. So then you come in here, and then you've got the new range. So you draw that fib from there. Wait, God, we're on the fly here, but let's go. And then we come back, we hit that fib, and then we come back up here and there's this fib, and then you hit a smaller fib and you hit a smaller fib. And like, that's possible. That's one of the scenarios I'm looking for. That would be fib pong, and you can kind of trade that back and forth, and it's a little more day tradey, a little riskier as far as like you're seeing, returns or losses within a day. But anyway, so that was my long this morning. That was the only one I took, and I had to eat shit on it, and it sucks. But moving on, I think it's probably better to zoom out in this and just understand, like, we just came into a major trend line, which I almost put up. Brian Beamish pointed this out to me, founder of TRI, where I learned how to trade. This, if you take the peaks of the last two all-time highs, or, cycle tops, and you extend it, we came into that, and we did get rejected at first, right? We came into it, and then it dumped. And then we blasted through, and it was like, haha, bullshit. Well, now we're back below it. So this is clearly a level to be aware of.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the bulls pick it up, man. It's funny, if you zoom out, like that anthill that was 2014. I wonder those people who were in 2014 would say like what the market was like from a sentiment standpoint. I'm sure it was like much more volatile than even now, when you have all this kind of fundamental support to say, oh, we'll be fine. I feel like in 2014, a 50% move down, that almost seems like the end of the world. Like, okay, we'll wrap it up. We're going home.
Well, exactly. I mean, and there was not as much institutional adoption here. There wasn't banks and regulators and everyone talking about it. It was like a meme joke kind of thing. It was like, oh yeah, that Bitcoin thing, that dark market currency, like whatever. So the narrative has changed. It's much stronger. That does not mean price can't go down. Does not mean we can't get pullbacks. Does not mean, like, from this view, I gotta understand there's a non-zero possibility that was the top. It's not unheard of. It's not like we have to go to 50, 100, 300K in this run, in this cycle, in this year. I still think this is like pullback, consolidate, some kind of cleanup, and then we continue, and there's just like, oh my God, who sold the dip? Ha ha ha. But, I have to understand too that, I got to protect my bottom line. So for those of you who made gains in 2020, obviously, like, after this huge dump, it's like, you don't want to reassess all your risk parameters. But if this made you super uncomfortable, and if you were in a position where you were putting your perhaps cost of living at risk and all that shit, this is a really good day to reassess your positions in the market. Not necessarily make big, heavy to sell all my coins, but reassess, because if we do get any kind of squeeze up, and that is into, very normal kind of price action where I would expect something like this. If I'm looking to short today because I'm like, fuck, I was way overexposed on this, I'm not necessarily rushing to cash, although a lot of my altcoins got stopped out today. Thankfully, some in profit, some at small losses. But if I'm thinking about like, holy shit, I was way overexposed, I need out of this, I'm always looking for this kind of move. And then once it gets up here, you have to already know what you're doing, because once it gets up here, you're going to feel bullish again, right? Everyone's going to be talking about how that was the dip and you didn't buy it. And, but, that's typically, and it may not come, but if it does, that's where I take action to the short side. So just, it's uncanny how often that'll happen, and those things will come in. And if we never get it, like if it just keeps nuking down for a bit, I would almost be like, it's weirdly bullish. Like it's like too ridiculous that couldn't, so I don't know. But since we broke 20, I've been talking about it. I mean, it would be very, very, very weird to me if we never come back and check that level. So
Yeah, you almost expected the pullback to come sooner, at least from my
yeah,
perspective. Like once it
yeah.
crossed 20, I definitely expected it to like pop really hot and really heavy, but for it to go all the way up to like 42K, that was absolutely wild. So
It's been a gong show, man. Like fuck, December 16th, break the highs. Anybody saying they knew it was going to go this high that soon, I mean, they'd be pulling your leg. I think that
yep.
was a target a lot of people had, but the time perhaps not. You can see the parabolic advance, and we have broken it. So again, if we get all squirrely up into here, I'm absolutely hunting shorts. That's just my trade plan. Taking a little risk off the table. Obviously, I have taken quite a bit off the table today by virtue of being stopped out on some things. But that's just the way it goes. And so if I got long late and oh shit, like a lot of trading is not like you have to buy the perfect level and sell the perfect level. It's about capturing something in between. And often what it takes the shape of is like, buying a little late, waiting for the top to come in, selling a little late, and then, that was the gain, like as a trader. And then optimizing trading is about working your sells up higher and getting your buys in lower and stretching out that profit zone. Like that's sort of the longer term vision. So you can be a profitable trader, but over 10 years, if you journal, if you reflect, if you collect data, if you adjust, if you stay disciplined, you can actually increase your profit margins, reduce your loss margins, and build that equity. So those are all the things, I think I want to talk about out of the gate. I think one thing we should keep in mind, which is interesting. I'm not ready to put a fork in this thing yet. Like, look at the altcoin perp. This is sort of an index of all the different altcoins, at least by FTX's formula. And so, this was a really strong signal when we broke out back in November and, retested it and then just had a crazy run.
Yeah. And that a lot of those seem to be blue chips, right? Like you didn't see like every single token pumping. I mean, you definitely did see that, but there were a lot that, still have yet to really like 2 or 3x, whereas in 2017 it was everything. Like you literally could not
Eventually,
miss.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, that's a thread. I'm going to pull this up. Maybe we can discuss this. This will be a good thread for us to just have a good chat on because where is it? Somebody posted it in my chat today. Let's go. Crypto Gambit. Smart thread. Basically, looks like, perhaps secrets of crypto as well, but at crypto _ Gambit _ and he posted this, and this was interesting. I thought this would be a good topic for today because we actually are seeing the starts of this, and so I want to make sure that in all my sort of caution and definitely reducing risk, if I think that was the top, like I talked about, getting in here on the short side if I think that there's weakness as we squeeze back up there, if we do, blah blah blah. But despite all that, there is, I think like my tune last week was like, watch out because all coins are looking really good. And I don't know that I can change that tune just yet, at least versus Bitcoin. And that's the key, right? Versus Bitcoin. They may go down versus USD if Bitcoin cools off, but they may outpace Bitcoin for the next little while. So, flow of money into Bitcoin causing the price surge. So big money coming in. That's the on-ramp still to crypto. Money flows into Ethereum, but it struggles to keep up with Bitcoin. We're seeing that, right? ETH was going up, but it wasn't keeping up with Bitcoin. It was trending down, but it got a huge pop, lots of volume last week, signaling perhaps a higher time frame reversal of that. And then Ethereum's outperforming Bitcoin, and we hear talks of the flippening. Now, I think we're still a while away from that flippening talk, but let's go look at the weekly on ETH. I just did a chart on it last night. Where is that one? Here we go. So ETH BTC. What is happening? It's not it again. This is weird. Note to self, never, okay, here we go. Never rename something very similar. I have two chart things now called weekly views, and it's just terrible. Okay, so here we go. So here's like, does that look like a top? Not really. Barely looks like it even started. And that's Ethereum versus Bitcoin. So what I actually kind of see happening, and tweeted something out to this effect the other day, is like, this, first of all, last week's weekly close was very strong, right? That was above this high, which is what we needed. But don't rule out something like this, where we get that sort of inverse head and shoulders, right? Come back, test the lows. That's weeks too. Like, so this is like maybe a month or two. And then ideally, obviously, closing above this level would be a big high time frame breakout. And then it's like, fuck you, alt season. So let's hope, man. Let's hope, because that's our best case as far as return on investment, ROI, is in altcoins. Always has been, even though it's not the most secure, and you have to know how to take profit, or you'll ride it right back down historically. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking at on ETH/BTC. But like, again, that could take until March, April, May. I don't know about you, but I've spotted the Q2 being sort of when alts like to rally, like that spring rally. Even in 2019, even in 2018, after the bear market, during the bear market, April, May, June, they tend to just love it. So what does that look like short term? Well, not that much exciting. I mean, it looks like, this is the VPVR. So it'll grow. These bars on the side, they will get longer and longer and longer the more volume is traded in that price area. And so what you see here, and it wants to be a parabola. That's like a healthy VPVR. So you can see a huge gap area in here. So it would not be unusual at all, especially since we just put in like a double top, basically, if we close below here, to just see ETH/BTC kind of fuck around for a little bit in here, whatever that looks like. And then once this is a nice rounded parabola, it's like the range is finished, we move on. That actually really aligns well with that inverse head and shoulder thinking too. So, I'm just seeing it all add up. And then, the takeaway there is like, yes, but not yet. So those are my thoughts. Get into the large caps and then eventually flow into the altcoins. So it's it's not dead in the water, guys, but it is it's a tough day to be a bull given what this is, even though generally speaking, this is like in a bull market, that's a great dip to buy as a rule, but I don't know. So I've got to reset myself after, I was doing a lot of altcoin longs last week. Let's see. Yeah. Well, look, man, I think, oh, fuck, where?
Shout out to Crypto Buffalo, who literally he's one of the hosts and one of the main guys, one of the main team members within Lads. He literally screenshotted the top of Bitcoin and asked himself whether he should sell. Didn't do it. So shout out to Crypto Buffalo there.
It stings, man. I actually had a pang of fear on Saturday night. Things were going so well. A portfolio, Ren was up here. But it was no, that's the daily. Like, I'll give you an example of Ren, because this one I traded quite a bit last week. This came in on Saturday night, but divergence, lack of volume. Like, it was a scary thought. I thought, a high time frame, hell yeah, I think this thing's going up. I think it's going to make a full extension all the way up here. Like, you see, sold half and a double. I had an alert working there. But on Saturday night, I thought, fuck, weekend bullshit. Usually it's like Monday rug pull, and then we reset and having a good week later. And so I did have a pang of like, maybe I'll just sell everything and like, set up these kind of reload zones, and then I can just get into all my favorite coins right down in these reload zones. And I didn't do it. So I feel you, Buffalo. I had the same thing. And I think a lot of people do, right? You just think, well, I don't know, but it's bullish, so I'll just hold. I had signals, but I told myself, your entry's down here. It's a high time frame trade. Don't get shaken out on the first whatever. Like, don't cut your bags too early. And, now instead of buying back basically where I started and having one good trade and now another, thankfully, a lot of my alts last week, I was buying kind of in this initial impulse, in this pullback, and I did close certain amounts. And then my stop losses for the rest was like at these kinds of levels for a lot of them. So classic, stop loss and profit. But in most cases it was, there was a couple where I cannot claim as much. Perfect. BZRX, I had to eat some shit. Bought it at like, 22 last week. Sold it here. Stop loss below this level. So, definitely took some smaller hits, but it's just the way she goes. Can't be perfect. And then what do I do today? Well, I've got to get out my trade journal. Got to figure out, could I have made more money on those trades? Is it a rule issue? Was it just the way the trade goes and it was a good trade? Or did I break a rule? Like, I've got to do that analysis today, introspection, because, Solana I'm super bullish on, but this is a pretty gross market structure. Like, I want to buy it back, but I'm not in a rush to.
So, yeah, I loved what you were talking about earlier in the episode about recapping and introspection and looking back and analyzing how you made those trades. I think that's super important for people who are new to the space and new to trading. I think they kind of miss on that, and they just get caught up in the moment and don't kind of pull themselves out and say, okay, what the hell just happened there?
Yeah, just want to make money.
Yeah, exactly. I think
that's risky stuff. You can just make money. You can just show up and punt a few things, and if it's the right kind of market, you can make money. But unfortunately, and a lot of people are experiencing this today, keeping that money takes a lot more, right? How many people made absolute boatloads in 2017 and basically lost it all? Some of them even lost more, right? Just getting on tilt and then blowing more and depositing more. So yeah, it's easy to make money in the bull. The lesson is how to make, keep that when it pulls back, if it does. Again, not calling tops here, but it's the same old story. You get your cycles, and it's so fascinating to me, like how many people. I saw a really funny meme the other day. It was like Bitcoin at 4,000, skeptical. Bitcoin at 8,000, skeptical. Bitcoin at 12,000, skeptical. Bitcoin at 30,000, give me Bitcoin. Take all my money. I want to buy.
Yep.
And it happens every single time without fail. Even, you got to remember, people don't look at charts. When I first joined the show, I didn't look at charts. I looked at CMC, just the numbers on a screen, and they kept going up. I had no concept of the gravity and the nature of who's holding what. But almost without fail, up in these zones, you can find a lot of people willing to buy your bags.
Absolutely, man. The biggest thing I've learned, and again, I don't trade off charts a lot. I definitely utilized Dimitri, who has since moved on from Layer 1, but was like all in the charts and was a great tool for the lads and our whole community. But one thing I've learned since 2017 is not to trade fundamentally, and more to trade on trends, and more to trade on the narrative. Like there's a ton of different altcoins out there that have relatively strong fundamentals that just don't have that momentum, like from the community, that sentiment, and that carries something way farther. At least what I found. DeFi is a great example of that. Like regardless of the situation, if you're able to, catch that trend in the narrative that was happening this summer, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, at that point there was just a trend. Everything DeFi goes.
Mm-hmm.
And anything new that looks like something that's already gone is going to go too. And that's your echo pump. And that's a really good point. I mean, all this fancy TA and all these little lines and all that shit, that's more about finding levels and managing risk and coming up with criteria. Because it's hard to consistently do the same thing. Like, okay, every time coin A pumps 30% and a coin B shows up that's like coin A, I will buy. Like, as far as what you're saying with that fundamental stuff, I find it hard to find setups in that sense. So I use TA for setups where it's like, every time there will be a bullish market structure breakout, I'll draw a fib and I'll buy like the pullback, and then I'll risk to the low and I'll sell it at 3-1. Like that's a setup. And if you just rinse and repeat that, in theory, if you have good data and it's a good setup, it'll pay off. But it's a little tougher. So I use TA for that, but what you're talking about is actually my bread and butter. It's a lot better. And that is finding trends. Exchange tokens, BNB went wild, then KCS, then Huobi token. Like I love the exchange token pumps in 2017, 2018. It was easy. Find any exchange token.
Yep.
And it will go up. And if you find one that hasn't gone up yet, just buy it, because it doesn't matter what levels in TA, it'll just go up because everyone's doing that thing. So what trends are you seeing? I mean, I know you guys are pretty heavy and interested in NFTs. I see NFT as a big upcoming trend. I think in some ways internally, the metrics are showing it's already trending in growth. So it's more of a matter of like, when does price reflect that? What are you looking at? What projects do you like the most in the NFT space?
I love Hxro. The protocols are tough, although I think Flow is going to do really well. But I think primarily in the same way that some people were looking at protocol tokens when Ethereum kind of had that run up in 2017, but also had the gas issues. And then you had all these other projects come out, EOS, Solana, Cardano. And it pains me that Cardano is like up as much as it is right now, being from 2017. But in the same way that the protocols, some people believe that, there would be, price aggregation or I guess price increase on those protocol tokens if things were built on it. I think you get the same thing in NFTs, right? So like some people believe, okay, if the NFT space continues to grow, let me get into Wax, or let me get into these different protocols like Flow, or like we see with Matic. Matic's doing some interesting things. Engine is another one. But I definitely think like in the same way that you see those specific, I guess, protocols that are being built on top of those networks, it's like that's probably where you see the most gains. Like, so for example, instead of investing in, I guess the example there would be Axie, right? Like,
Yeah.
they
Actually, let's do a chart on Axie. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's primarily where I'm looking at. There's interesting things too within each. Obviously there's different primitives, right? Like within Axie, there's actual NFTs that you can then sell for outsized gains as well. So the fact that we're so far in to that industry allows us to say, okay, we have a really good sale coming up. We've seen, assets such as so, for example, like a lot of these NFTs, specifically the collectibles, they start out in packs, and packs actually hold their value extremely well. Like, not a lot of wax collectible packs have actually gone under what you're actually purchasing them for. Although you can then open them and get the outsized return of getting a really cool asset. And I know that's for traders and for like people who are primarily in Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's tough to like talk cards with them. I know to me, oftentimes
collectibles, right? It's this. I think the Pokemon heat wave has certainly helped the narrative around collectibles. A lot of people felt like they missed that.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, well, hey, there's, ask yourself now, 1999, I was in like whatever grade school and Pokemon cards were everywhere and I never actually collected those. I collected dumb shit like Star Wars cards and weird Magic the Gathering.
Star Wars is coming.
Yeah, nothing that was worth anything now, but, and I sold them years ago, but like Pokemon cards then. And so then I was thinking the other day, I was like, fuck, reminiscing about missing that. What's the next one? What in 20 years, what shitty thing can I just buy today for pennies on the dollar that in 20 years it'll be like, oh, remember those? Yeah, well, they're worth 13K now. It's probably digital. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that it'll be something digital and digital collectibles. Oh, look at that. They're all popping up. So I'm with you. I mean, I think the value prop, like you're saying, goes well beyond the token itself. Goes right into the actual collectibles. One that I'm fairly familiar with. I don't know if you've heard of these guys yet. I'll flip over to their chart. I mean, it's in the value zone. NFT, go figure. They have a token, NFT protocol, forked from, or not forked, but like kind of rebranded from Block Party, which was doing ticketing for events. And so they had NFTs, right? Because like a ticket on the blockchain would be a form of NFT. And weird. Yeah. Oh, that's weird. Yeah. The price chart on NFT is dead. It's weird.
Uh-oh. Am I like frozen up here for the rest of the episode? They're going to see my face. You guys are stuck here with me.
Everything's ticking away for me, dude. And the YouTube looks fresh. Oh, try flipping over to screen share. Okay, yeah, I think, okay, Q, you are the star of the show right now. We are stuck on your screen.
We always knew it would end this way.
Yeah, you've come in, you've taken over. The Layer 1 squad is here. And, look, we'll take this opportunity. I hope they can still hear me, but I'm assuming they can. Shout out to Soheil.
Oh, yeah.
He's in here front and center every day, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and he introduced us.
True.
He said, look, I know these guys over at Layer 1, my other favorite YouTube channel. Get together, let's talk. And so appreciate you, Soheil. He's in here today, so I'm giving you a big shout out. Orlando Newman says, crypto always squeezes out the weak hands. You got to have ice in your veins to be successful. Yeah, I totally agree with you, man. And, like, just to be clear, guys, I talked a lot about how I got stopped out on all my altcoin trades. Most of them got stopped out. You can hear me. Thank you, Jack Jones, for confirming. So we're just like staring you down here, Q. So I know it's uncomfortable, but we are stuck. What do you want to do, John? Do you want to reset Wirecast and just be back in 2 minutes? Oh, we're back. Okay, we're back. Screen share. Okay, flip over to my screen share. Yeah, no, they're hearing me. But just to be clear, today is a day where my trades can get stopped out. When this broke down, my SOL sold. My SOL sold. Shit out of luck. Although it's at a 382, right? So it's uncomfortable for me now because I'm like, this is really where if I was late to this trade, I would have been buying. But the point I'm making is, my ETH bag is intact. I'm not holding through, up to 1200 and then selling the first 30% drop. Because in that sense, you're for the hodl game, you got to have ice in your veins. If I want to short my ETH, there's levels for that. if I want to do that, there will be a bounce. There will be some kind of something. And even if it's a bounce from like 600 to 900, well, at least technically speaking, it'll satisfy my setup. But yeah, I can't cut my spot today. Not that I really want to, but like if this wanders up here and there's bearish divergence and there's no volume and it looks like shit, like, yeah, I will look to reduce my exposure up in a zone like that. But, just for those of you in the chat who mentioned having ice in your veins, I get it. And, for all my talk of getting stopped out to stable coins, I am still sitting in, 20% ETH, 10% share, some other stuff, a little bit of Bitcoin, so, but yeah, my tether number went way up today on that crazy dump. But let's get back to NFTs. Sorry, I get so hooked in these charts I can't pull away.
Hey man, you love it. I love to see someone that's following their passion and doing it because it shines through.
No, I appreciate that, man. It is a grind, and there's days when it's like, man, I just made fuck you money on like one day's trade, like not actually fuck you money, but you know what I mean, like something crazy. It was like I used to work a month at a job to get that.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, a couple of bad trades in a day while the market pulls back 30%, and you're like, oh, I used to work 3 months to earn what I just lost. So like the swings are incredible, and you got to have a stomach for it. And I'd like to think after a few years that I've developed one, although it still stings now. Anyways, NFT is one I wanted to bring up, NFT protocol, because they are actually kind of coming up with NFT protocol as it sounds like. I want to find the page that describes it, but basically it talks about the idea of having an index, like all of these assets that you're talking about, how you can, not only is it a token and you can participate in the price discovery there, it is an investment, but you can actually buy some of these collectibles and they go up in value. But where do you trade them? And is there a central marketplace? And how do you do price discovery, price indexes, and, using on-chain, off-chain data and all that stuff. So that's kind of what they're building over here.
It's so funny because we'll have conversations between. That's one of the cool things about Lads is that we have people who are super interested in trading, super interested in NFTs, super interested in DeFi, and they're all kind of mixed together. So you get this awesome kind of confluence of information, right? Like the NFT guys will explain something in a way that the DeFi guys couldn't, and then vice versa. And it's funny because you try to explain kind of getting exposure to NFTs in a traditional sense, and the NFT guys really don't know much about that. Like we had a ton of people being like, why does this exist and why does that exist? We had a sharding via NFT exchanges where you could actually buy 1/100th of a NFT asset. And I was, kind of explaining how that will actually, lead to more volume and kind of more interest in NFTs because you can actually trade it in real time as opposed to going through the traditional sense of like, in order for me to sell this CryptoKitty, there needs to be a subjective kind of value, and then I have to go through that whole process of trading one for one and things like that, as opposed to just looking at the chart and saying, okay, this CryptoKitty, you can actually trade it in real time. And then therefore it gets a price, like a live price feed of the CryptoKitty market. It's incredibly different.
It's tricky. I mean, because there's one, and that's part of, like, in a lot of cases, sometimes they're like, oh, we're going to put 10 of these out and there's only going to be 10 ever. And it's like an art piece. But it's tricky because they're non-fungible. The idea is they're unique. So if there's only one, how do you create a market for that? And, what does that look like? So to that point, a little plug for our website here, hereolabs.io. We actually have a bi-weekly blog written by Franklin Fitch, who is the head of marketing for NFT. So, the NFT protocol, knows his shit, really getting into the art stuff himself. They do a lot of art drops, and he writes this. So if you're ever curious, like, what do you do with NFTs and what are they and why should you care and how do you value them? Those are his first 3 blogs starting October, November, December. So slide over there and check that out if you guys are interested in learning a little more about this. And that's the thing for me. Like, I like the tokens. I want to build a basket of NFT tokens. I think there is a list. I never know how to find it through here, but it's usually like, I had the link to it saved somewhere, but basically there's a list. Oh, I think I know how to find it.
Like an index essentially of.
Yeah. Like it shows you, right here, non-fungible tokens. So you can actually go to this list. And these are all the sort of NFT projects or projects that are somehow related. Rari, I have a little bit of think I have some like SLP somewhere, just small love potion. That's a weird one, but I have a tiny bag of that. Like the kind of thing where it's like I don't even notice today the price of it when it changes 37%, like probably like $100, like whatever. It's a small bag, but I'm trying to build these little tiny positions in some of these little ones because, like, if any of them turn out to be something, whatever, it'll probably all move together, like we talked about earlier, like in these waves. And I do see sometime in the future there being, an NFT rally where, oh man, is that NFT related? And we actually kind of had that
Did.
already in the summer. I think it was like late to September, October, but they all just kind of went fuck you for a week and just went crazy. So I expect that could happen again. So yeah, long story short, I'm building some positions, not as aggressively this moment. I'd really like to see this market unwind a bit, at least from a buying side perspective. I have a hard time, like, okay, made some money in 2020. I have a hard time like putting all that money at risk in a market like this.
Yeah.
Because it's just so crazy right now. It's overbought. It's like, it doesn't look as bad on there, but if you look at the weekly,
and there's really no like NFT altcoin or that's associated with an NFT project that's gonna not be decoupled or like not have the same effect that any other altcoin within its vicinity. So yeah, I would agree with that. Like in this market, NFTs aren't going to be not susceptible to the drawdown. So
yeah, they're not gonna do too much better. Now this is interesting. Let's go back. Let's see if this actually hit. Oh my god. I've got to check if this thing hit on day one. That's crazy. I don't think it did on this chart. Oh, that's weird. Oh, maybe I'm looking at this. Oh yeah. Okay. So look, one of the things you want to use for targets, a lot of people, they call me like, who should I buy Bitcoin? I'm like, no. But if it gets to this level, that's value. Maybe buy that. And, usually when it gets to like a drop point, they're like, nah, I'm going to wait for cheaper, and they never buy it. But
yeah,
we're coming into a level on ETH here, and it's a little easier to see candle body high here on the weekly, but it's a little easier to see if you flip over to a line chart and then get rid of everything but the line, because that's just confusing. So yeah, keeping an eye here. So the thing about a line chart, sorry to just divert from NFTs for a sec, but got ADHD, man. It's just how it goes. The thing about a line chart is they're based on candle closes. So the wicks that you see all over charts, they don't factor in. So you see here, I had the fib drawn all the way up here, but in the line chart, it never closed a candle above this level. So therefore, I think a lot of people like line charts because they give stronger levels. They kind of reduce that noise. And if you're looking at the line chart, then 909, 910 is a level. It's sort of the last peak before the highs on our way back down here. And if you flip back to the candles, you can see that's the level we just tagged. So clearly, as far as the big dump goes, there was a lot of buyers that have said, okay, well, if we hit here, I'll have my bids parked there. And that's why the price stopped there. That was the buyers now outweighing the sellers for now. So we'll see. What you do not want to see, we have like 6 days to find out. You don't want to see the weekly close below this. That would be a really gross tweezer top. And it would basically be like, yeah, I'm definitely a top short term. So like even midterm. So yeah, let's just hope that the weekly can, get some action. God, if this weekly closes green, I'm going to laugh so hard, but you just don't want it to close below this level. That would be a very strong technical sell signal. And it, I don't know. There's an ongoing debate of like TA is real, TA is not real. Bottom line is there's, the biggest funds in the world, like the places where the movers of markets, they use TA, not perhaps as their be all end all, but they've got a chart guy on the payroll. Mm-hmm. And generally speaking, you see a huge stupid top like that come in and confirm. Their job is to be like, hey, boss, cool it. We're going to come back down to here and then whatever. So we'll see. But somebody's going to be so mad that I just said that. What are you talking about? The biggest funds in the world trade on fundamentals. It's like, well, yeah, but you don't think they look at charts?
Oh, they definitely use them as tools 100%. So the real one question I want to throw your way, RT, is am I buying or selling? That's the only thing I want to know. Do I buy here? Do I sell here? Not invest. What am I doing, man? So
well, that's a really good time for our disclaimer. Nothing you ever hear on this show should be considered financial advice. We have it at the front and back end of the show, written in beautiful legalese that is hard to understand. But I'll simply point out that I'm not a financial advisor, so nothing I say really like for real though. But however, If you have to take action I always like to rephrase it as like for myself, because I'm not giving you guys advice, but if I have to take action in the market today, there's no way I'm rushing to sell here. I had my chance to sell. Ironically, I actually sold on the way up, being like a savvy, like, oh, I'm going to take some profits. I'm going to, protect my capital. I'm going to be smart. This is rally. This is crazy. I'm going to just sell a bit. And I think my sells were like around 1,000. So as much as I thought I was being super smart, I spent the next week going, oh, why did I sell? And now I'm basically back to break even. So how often that happens, it's pretty crazy. So I cut like 25% of my ETH here. But I mean, granted, like I was buying it around 300 and stuff. That's a good trade. But yeah, in a nutshell, this is not a day to sell. This is typically where sellers will spend the next couple of days regretting. And, but again, who knows? Could news come out? I mean, fuck, I'll be honest with you. From a functional level, Ethereum sucks right now. It really, really sucks. I mean, the gas fees are down below 100 right now, but like anytime there's volatility in the market, it's the best time to be trading. It's like, oh yes, big drop, buy the dip, big pump, sell the rip. Like I want to trade during volatility. And that is exactly when you cannot trade on Ethereum.
Couldn't even get out of your alts if you wanted to. That's the
that's the fucking joke, right? If you want to cut your bags. Now, this funny thing is, like in a weird way, there's probably a lot of people today that went to sell during a big dump, which is probably not the time to do it. And ironically, they were stopped because the fee was like $100. This number. So this is the site. If you guys go to gasnow.org, sometimes these are actually more correct than Uniswap. So if Uniswap gives me like a $40 fee, and then I come look here and I see, oh, it's only 81. And I type that in and then it's like $27 and it's still fast. So a little bit of alpha there for those of you trading on Uniswap and other swaps. If you're on ETH, go to gasnow.org. It's a live updating gas feed. And it can be wrong. Like sometimes I put in the 77 and then like it jumps to 125 and my transaction's still stuck. So it sucks. But this was at 600 today during that volatility. And then, even on Dollar Protocol, nobody called the fucking rebase because it cost $300. And even in the whale chat, the guys were like, are we serious? Did nobody call that? Like, it was like, nah, man. A lot of guys were out of their house away from the thing. And I was just like, fuck, I didn't even think of it. I would have done it. But nobody called rebase today. So rip our positive rebase on Dollar Protocol. But we're going to get another one probably tonight at midnight. But anyways, it's a funny story. So this shit, yeah, ETH sucks.
Yeah.
Honestly, it does. It sucks a lot right now. It's overclogged and we're still new. We're still young. We're still early. Well, if that's the case, then ETH is fucked. And at least until 2.0 comes out, which is again, a year, maybe 2 years. And so what I think, and this is what I was talking a little bit about last year, is that there is a great narrative in the market now then for alternatives. And not like that meme shit in 2017 where it was like, we're like ETH, but faster and scalable more. And like I'm sure they were. There was a lot of blockchain tech that came out that was really sweet, but they had no network effect. Nobody was building on them. It didn't matter. There was no demand for the gas for those blockchains. And so all of those, or a lot of those, died out. And now you got things like Solana. I don't know why this is here. It's the wrong chart. That's why. Let me go to Solana. So Solana, I've been learning a lot about lately. They had their huge distribution scheduled for the 7th, which was causing everyone to be like, no, they got a big distribution coming. It's going to flood the market with tokens. Well, interestingly, and in true Sam Bankman-Fried fashion, price pulled back a little bit into that, but then pumped like fucking crazy. It's like, short my coin, will you? And it just roasted anyone who thought about shorting into that event or at that event. And so that, major supply unlock is in the past now by a few days. Big pullback today, fairly bullish still. I mean, look at this structure, right? It should come and test this level and still be bullish. So that's probably where I'm looking to get back in. But my reason I'm bringing it up is because they've got 120, I believe it is, projects building on them right now. They've got incredible funding. They're very fast. Something like, you look at the transactions on their thing. Well, fuck it. Let's just do it right now. So I think there's a narrative in the market this year where these kinds of blockchain solutions could be catching bids.
Yeah, and as opposed to 2017 when they were either just in the idea formation or the white paper stage, a lot of these are actually active now, which is awesome to see. So hopefully that leads to actual adoption as opposed to just kind of creating bag holders that are waiting for a protocol to launch in a year.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? I mean, there's going to be, and there's still over 100 blockchains, platforms out there like ETH that are claiming to be the better, faster solution, cheaper, whatever. But there's only a few that I'm betting on that I'm like, okay, well, they actually have the network value behind that, because Ethereum is undoubtedly, the king in that sense for network value. It's not even close, and that's why you see the huge discrepancy in market cap. But things like Solana, I mean, look at the transactions per second. Look at the block time, right? Fluctuating under a second. Average fee per transaction is like a Satoshi of a penny. Like, it's incredible. And so, are they going to now have an opportunity to live in the limelight while ETH is basically unusable during all the times that you want to use it?
Yeah.
And then, you got to ask yourself, like, Polkadot, obviously things are being built around that. It's going to be like, the interoperability play, down 15% today, but up about 100% in the month. So, yeah. And then the other one, actually, I looked up last week for the first time. I knew about, Cosmos and Atom as being an interop play, but I never actually looked into it. They've got a lot building on there too. I think 100 and something live, or 70 live main nets ecosystem. Yeah. Like you can see here, this is how many live products or things they already have running on them. And then, 70 a mainnet, 50 proof of concept. So tons of development over here. So as far as like a basket of fading the ETH gas fees, I want positions, and these are part of the ones that got stopped out on the weekend, or I guess even this morning. So I need to get my Atom back. I think I got stopped out at $6. So like I'm up on the trade, but I need to get it back. And I don't want to just sleep on it. And then it's $10. And I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't buy that back. So I'm looking for Atom. I'm looking for Solana. I'm looking for Polkadot. And that's more of like a Q play, like where I'm looking at it from an investment perspective. I'm not trying to trade it too actively. Although obviously this week I did, because I was like, well, look at that fucking chart. Like if it goes down, I want to be buying the dip, not dreading the dip. So I am out of those now, but I am hunting. And that's why I say, like, I actually kind of want this shit to cool off and really fuck off for a bit, squeeze out all that, quote unquote dumb money or new money that came rushing in. Because once we get into something, like, God, if we could just get into something, I don't know what level, who cares what it is, but where it's like this, and then I can be like, okay, we've cleaned up the chart, we've put in some bullish market structure, like it's all oversold or it's looking, bearish. Oh man, that's where I like want to get excited and just load up. That's the dream scenario. Because no matter where price goes on some of these assets, that does not change how bullish I am on them. And that's the thing you got to keep in mind too, right? A lot of people say, well, price went down, it must not be very valuable. Oh, price went up, it must be super valuable, right? You want to try to avoid letting price dictate your feelings on how good something is. Decide for yourself and 100%. Then buy it when it's on discount.
Especially in crypto, man. Like price, rare. I wouldn't say rarely, but you just can't use it as an accurate measure of the value of what is being created, man. It's all narrative driven. It really is. It really is.
Absolutely. And it's really hard to convince somebody down here that Ethereum is worth something, right? Mm-hmm. Because it just dropped like whatever that was, 70% from the highs in 3 weeks. Yeah. Call your buddy, say, hey man, that ETH thing, they got a crazy network value. They got DeFi's coming up this year. So much is being built on it. The gas is going to be in high demand. So valuable, under $100. Let's buy some. And your buddy's going to be like, no, you're a fucking idiot, man. It's just going to zero. Like
100%.
But that same friend, no coiner, whoever they are, skeptic, they'll say, oh man, I should have listened to you. Is it still too late to buy? And they'll call you up here. Bar none every time. Raise your hand if you're in the audience and you had a friend that did that.
And also raise your hand if somebody reached out about XRP this bull run.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have a few XRP buddies. And you know what? To be fair, if anybody in the audience right now is watching and they're like, fuck you, I just joined and bought that top. Like, okay. I'm not throwing shade at you. It's just the way that markets go. And if you are the person who got sucked into the wrong side of a trade or an investment, for the record, I still think Ethereum will someday break its all-time highs. I think that's unheard of. I think it'd be really crazy for it not to, especially when you look over here. Like, I don't think you're stuck in a bad thing forever.
Yeah.
So when I throw shade at like these quote unquote text buddies who just hit you up at the highs of the market, don't take it personally if that's you. I, for the record, did the same goddamn thing.
Yeah.
We've all started there. Usually, you need that kick in the ass of a 200% gain in 1 week to really kick you into action. And I can't even find where I joined on that chart. Not that I'm that much of an OG, but it was May 2017. I bought the fucking high. Where was it? Let's go make fun of RT. What did I do? Yeah, down here. And it was, I tell this story probably too much. For people that watch every time, they're like, dude, we already know that. But it was May. It was right here. Oh my God. That, and it doesn't look like much in retrospect. That was a 30% drop overnight. I just shit myself. I think I piled the last of like the investment. Yeah, 31%. I probably I bought here on the 17th, and then I was like, ooh, I should add more. Ooh, I should take out a loan and add more. Oh my God, this is life-changing. Yeah. The second my bank released all the last of the funds and I got it in, I think I bought like 2,600, whatever. And then I woke up and it I was like, oh, finally I'm in. I can just relax now. I'm going to be rich. And then I woke up in the article that I read when I first woke up, saying, pop goes the weasel. Bitcoin drops 30% overnight, wrecking new investors. And
you were part of the metrics that day.
Yeah, and it basically lived in that range for the next whatever it was, 3 months.
Yeah,
and this was the Bcash drama. So
yeah, fun looking at charts and then remembering what happened on that timeline, right? Like
story, right? Yeah,
here's when China banned Bitcoin.
Yeah, here's the China banned Bitcoin, right? September 4th, I'll never forget. It was terrifying. The Red Sea across everything, right? Because we were also in a big bull right there, so it was just but then it's crazy because when you zoom out, and people will say well, TA works or it doesn't work, but like we always say, don't chase, because when you zoom out, what did it do? Just came back and checked that level.
100%.
And sometimes charts need help, right? People are like, well, it dumped because of Bitcoin, it dumped because of China, it dumped because of this. And then TA guys will be like, well, okay, it doesn't really matter why it comes there. But after this breakout and after this big stilty candle that looks unhealthy as fuck, the savvy trader and whoever, they'll just patiently park their bids at that breakout level. And if they get filled, they get filled. And if they don't, they don't. And that's literally why price stopped here, because that's where a whole fuckload of people had their bids placed and the buyers suddenly outweighed. So pretty fascinating. And, that's why I'm just obsessed with TA now, even though honestly, I think there's more value to trading a bit the way you do, or not trading, but investing, knowing what's hot, DeFi through the summer. Like you said, buy anything DeFi, you'll just do well. Don't waste your time charting it all. Just fucking throw some money in. But then TA, for me, it helps you understand where the top is. Because you got to pay yourself.
Love it. Yeah, man. It's funny, dude, because you were talking about the usability of Ethereum, and I feel like DeFi individuals feel that, but they don't feel it as much going back to NFTs, because I do have to hop off. We have our own show at Layer 1 Live that'll start at 4 p.m.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good.
Check that out. But I want to touch NFTs. I want to touch social, but it is really funny that you were talking about the rebase there, the manual rebase, because what those guys were feeling in that moment, those DeFi users, is what NFT users have felt since Ethereum became unusable, because the value that's being transacted in NFTs, you're not trading thousands to tens of thousands of dollars here. The NFT,
you're trading a $4 Axie character.
Yep. Go ahead.
Wait. So you guys trade those on Ethereum, and it costs you a transaction?
I don't.
Somebody does.
Someone does, right? Somebody wants to. I know Axie, when it first took off, and you could say that Axie, other than CryptoKitties, was one of the first majorly adopted dApps or applications, centralized applications. And for people that were playing that game, there were people that were used to doing something a certain way, and just they maybe didn't even know that much about the blockchain, which we'll get here in a second, because fundamentally the people that are going to use NFTs are way different than the people that are going to use DeFi, especially as we go forward and crypto becomes more adopted through NFTs and through social tokens. Those are fundamentally adoption layers for crypto. DeFi is not an adoption layer for crypto. That's
depending on who you are, I think DeFi may be more of a fintech level.
It's like
adoption thing, right? The yield, It's as far as collectors and retail, average people coming in to play and do fun things. Yeah, I agree with you. I think NFTs are going to be a hot, sexy draw.
Yeah,
and we're already seeing that, right? Let's flip back to studio, Jono. We're already seeing that. So it's going to be an exciting year. I got to say, look, I don't think the top is in. Locally, I would say there's a good chance. I've been talking about 20K needing a cleanup in a long time, but I don't think it's going to be a straight shot. I think we need to keep our eyes. Obviously, if charting is your thing, you keep your eyes on the chart. Otherwise, I don't know how the hell you would ever know when is the right time to do anything. But that's because that's the way I, eat, sleep, and breathe. But I think NFTs are going to see their day in the sun. I think DeFi, that was likely a test pump in the summer. They're going to grow immensely. And so it's really just about managing risk so that when the buying opportunity comes back, which always feels like the worst time to buy, it's always like some deep, depressing dump where all you're thinking is, I should have sold. The last thing you're about to do is buy more or, whatever. So keeping an eye on that stuff, because in this next year, even if it is, 2021 is going to be a shit year, maybe, like, who knows? There's no golden rule that says 2020 was great, but that was the 2016 and now we're into the 2017. That's a nice story. I love that. But there's no rule that says that is the case, right? And I think knowing what's going to happen when you don't actually know is probably pretty dangerous, right? It's not what you know that hurts you. It's what you know that just ain't so. Or something like that, Mark Twain. So
Pure lab slogan.
yeah. It's it's not what you don't know that can hurt you. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. I mean, so keeping an open mind. I have some NFT tokens. I don't have too many actual NFTs. So maybe I think we're going to do a little something over on Layer One later this week. Is that on Friday, right?
It's going to be on Friday, man.
Yeah,
what I really want to do is like we had Dimitri, who is awesome, man. He's former Forex. Like, he had a lot of good trading backgrounds and was able to go through the charts and the lads. And yeah, if you could come in this week and kind of lay out how you like to trade, because I'm sure there are a bunch of lads in the chat right now, but there's definitely some that haven't made the trip over. And just to have a guy with your experience come on and show your kind of how you're looking at the market, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to come and paint up some charts with you guys and go over some concepts. And, like I said, I mean, I had a really good 2020. You can make good trades. Today, I lost money, and that's just the nature of trading, right? At the end of the day, I aim to obviously have the highest hit rate possible, but I expect 50 to 60% hit rate. The key is making 3 to 4 times as much on your wins than you lose on your losses. But, yeah, I appreciate it. Like, with experience comes, an opportunity to teach lessons learned, often in blood. And I'd love to do that. So I'll join you guys on Friday afternoon. And that's actually the first time that I'm stepping out of the Hxro Labs YouTube to do a show. So I appreciate you inviting me on.
Dude, the lads will definitely welcome you with open arms. I promise that. We'll blow it up. But yeah, I don't know how long we're left here to go.
We just kind of go ham here. So you better get out of here if you got things to do, because it never ends.
I'm completely fine with that, man. I we haven't touched on lads at all. We could touch on social tokens here at the end of it, but it was
great. Yeah, okay. Yes. Sorry about that. I got so rambly today because the fucking market's going crazy. It's driving me nuts. So I wanted to talk about it. But let's talk social tokens, because that was sort of in my idea for what we would discuss. You guys have your own. It's called LADZ, LADZ, LADZ. What is it?
That is a good question, man. Social tokens had, I believe they kind of blew up near the end of 2019, early 2020. We saw Alex Masmej tokenize himself in a personal token, and he was able to sell shares of himself to then pay back to investors later. That's more of a personal token route. Since we've seen other kind of individuals launch their token, we've seen community tokens, and that's kind of how we term what's going on. But I guess the best way I can explain it is that you've seen creator economies form since the internet kind of existed and moved to Web 2, right? You have YouTube, you have Twitch, you have Facebook, you have Instagram. Those are creator economies. And we know how much is made in creator economies, right? Ninja's making millions. Joe Rogan has $100 million podcast. But really what you're seeing there is like only the tip of that industry makes any money whatsoever. And it's because these Web 2 platforms have essentially gated up their communities, right? And they basically, you've seen this in music a lot too. You see the music industry rapes its artists pretty much. They don't pay anything to them. Well, that happens in all realms of creator economies. And what the social token allows you to do is have value capture outside of the platform you're on. So for example, on YouTube right now, you're probably making anywhere from 50 cents to $1 per 100 views. That's absolutely ridiculous. For the value that you're driving via 100 views, and then you get to 1,000, you get to 10,000, you could be up to 100,000 people watching your stuff. And if you don't have any payment coming in from the actual individuals that are watching, like if you go onto a doc stream, he's just getting hit $5, $25. Dr. Disrespect, I don't know if you know him, but
I do. Yeah,
people's
that's
in
actually what we designed our studio around. Was inspired by Dr.
Yeah, and Dr. Disrespect makes a lot of money from donations. But when you don't have donations coming through, YouTube isn't paying you jack shit. And that goes for all of the platforms that I managed to kind of say there. And when you have this token economy, if you can drive any sort of utility, so the utility point that I always point to is having some form of Joe Rogan coin, right? If Rogan had a coin back in back in 2012, and essentially someone would show up and consume Rogan content and then get paid out to do so, and then be able to use those to maybe go into the studio or maybe get access to exclusive content. You have this incentive alignment there that actually makes a lot of sense. But because you have Web 2 and the ability, and you didn't have Web 3 at that point, you didn't have access to that. But now with Web3, with Ethereum, and what we're doing with social tokens, you're essentially allowing someone to come in and actually, I hate to use the word own. I don't want to use that term, but they have some level of incentive alignment to be a part of that community, and they get rewarded via all these different processes that the creator themselves can put in place to do so. So
point system, club points, like the idea of like, if I have a card for gas station X, I'm more likely to go to that gas station when I got to fill up. Do you find that it has like a community stickiness effect where there's people that are just, they may be a little more engaged, a little more excited, and then, they own a piece of LADs, they own a piece of layer one. Are you guys finding positive feedback in that?
Absolutely, man. That has been what we've seen 100%. And what we've seen too is as they kind of, so for example, LADS is used to rank up within our Discord. So we have this Discord of like 800, 900 members. Those that really want to be a part of LADS, as they earn for coming to our streams, taking part in events, and doing other things that they can earn LADS from, they actually rank up via very rudimentary tools. And that's a big thing I can touch on to end the episode. But they use these rudimentary tools to rank up in our system and gain more access to our community. And we drop more NFTs to those users. We give them access to an AMA. Eventually, we want to do DAOs for people who are high ranking individuals. These are all things we're building in real time. And social tokens are just like very nascent, like even smaller than NFTs. So there's a lot of experimentation going on, a lot of things we could be doing better. But we have seen that. People want to come to LADS, and they want to hold 5,000 LADS so they can be the top ranked noble. And that's somewhere in the vicinity of $500, $600. So you have people who are extreme hodlers within this community system because there's an actual soul, right? Like,
well, they're getting something from it that has value to them, which is, access or status at a certain level. And that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people could scoff at that, be like, oh, who would pay $120,000 for this knife in Counter-Strike? But somebody did, because there's this world where, being a somebody within the realm that you play in, whether that's World of Warcraft, whether that's Counter-Strike, whether that's the layer one, Discord or whatever it is, there is, that human need to belong and to, acquire status. And you guys have basically tokenized that human need. And I find that fascinating. I think it's really interesting. And I'm looking here, you can switch over here, John, to my screen if you want. I'm looking here at your liquidity on Uniswap. I mean, you guys, for what it is, you guys got $150,000 of liquidity. That's not nothing. That's, you can get in and out of that with a certain amount, and that's functional liquidity. I find that really fascinating that you guys have built this, and I'd like to learn more about it. So I'll probably pick your brain a little bit more after, because there's talk about stuff like this going on over here too. So it was like really serendipitous. Actually, there was discussions about that last week prior to this chat, and I said, well, I'm actually having a guy on who might know something about it. So and interesting.
And first and foremost, like, shout out to all our LADS miners. That's actually a rank within our Discord right now, and we do special things for those LADS miners. So providing utility to all ranks, but especially miners, especially high-ranking individuals, that is super important. You can also go to forefront.market if you want to check out different social tokens and kind of the market that's been growing since the start of 2020. And that's really where we're at. So we're trying to drive utility, but value capture is so important for the creator economy that will, kind of continue to grow, right? At some point, we had no TV, we had newspapers, then we moved to TV, and then TV had 100 different channels. And then if you go up to the top of that, you can see markets.
Yep.
Market. There you go. And you kind of see the
cool.
market caps.
So this is where they live. This is the home of the social token. Like
that is the home. Yeah. Forefront, they do a great job. Usually we're sitting somewhere around like $1,000 to $2,000 in volume per day, which is pretty strong for the social token like industry. Again, we're just building these things out, and that's what's amazing to see. Like so many really, really interesting, engaging, just pushing the envelope on what these are going to be. Because eventually, we think, at least everyone in the social token industry believes, that most podcasters, most streamers, once we build these tools out so that normal people can use them, there's everybody that you're talking about in the creator economy is going to, have a token, quote unquote. So
yeah, you want to create that scenario where they'd be crazy not to.
It's
like, hey, I've got all these followers, I've got all this content, but I'm making X. Oh, I could be making Y. All I need is to do this. Oh, and look, there's a nice plug and play module based programming thing that I can just set it up fairly easily.
Exactly.
People can gain access to it without paying $100 fees on Ethereum.
But imagine trying to do that with a current YouTube creator and say, oh, but you have to set up a liquidity pool on Uniswap.
Yeah. Like, no, it's still convoluted. I actually just talked to my cousin the other day, and I was like, yeah, we're in this like pre-sale, like I'll cut you off a little bit so you can play with us, like, get in, it's going to be hot. He's like, cool. And then he's like, so how do I trade it? Like, what do I do? And I was like, okay, so you got to set up your Trust Wallet, set up your Uniswap, set up your MetaMask. And I was like, oh, and you need Ethereum. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yep.
Like, we're screwed. Like, this is nowhere, and in that sense, it's like exciting too. It's like, oh, well, we're pretty early because, the internet sucked early on too. I still remember that, just like, and it was just like, oh, somebody picked up the phone, I just got disconnected. I mean, it was terrible. And now it's like on your phone, anywhere you go, 10 gigabyte per second. Like, anyway, so yeah, this is exciting.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that we want to do. Just expounding on that point you were just making, there's a lot of things we want to do at Lads that we can't do because the tooling's not there, right? Like the tooling hasn't caught up to. I think Jess Sloss, the owner of C Club, who does incubation for different social tokens, and they have this like group of really like experienced people within the social token industry. They have them all together at Seed Club, and then you can come in and for a percentage of the token equity, you can actually get incubated by Seed Club itself. And Jess, I had an interview with him last week, and he was saying, he made that point. He's saying the ideas are far outpacing where we're at tool wise. So there's a lot of things that we can't do at this point that someone in a year will be able to do. But getting back to like the true fundamental like reason we founded this, and again, like we didn't start layer one or Lads with the social token. That's another really cool thing, is like we had it's a lot like the Uniswap drop, in my opinion. You kind of have this retroactive thing that is happening. It's not the reason everyone is there. Like I've got Lads in the chat that know what happens. We drop rewards links during our streams, and since the token had a value late November, the people that are in there, and that some people that are, so I'll quote unquote, some people that are in there are there only for one reason. And if you start the community with the social token, that's a no-no, in my opinion.
Okay. So you're saying, build a community and use it as a reward system, maybe a second layer. Layer two, where, okay, you're here, you like our content, we're going to grow this thing, we're going to incentivize people to show up, because if you pay me for my attention, you will get more of it, period.
100%. And you also like start your thing and don't even add a token. Don't even have the reward token. Just start your community, grow in an organic way, as opposed to kind of having a transactional relationship. That's not how you should start your community. And that's why Lads has seen so much success, because the heart of our community, we at no point were like, we're going to start a token one day. It was just,
we're just going to get in here and get rich and print all these things. I appreciate that. I mean, that's not what we do here. Obviously, like we don't do any paid promotions or anything like that. We just bring people on to talk charts, and and for what it's worth, even when maybe we should be moon boys, like I try to avoid moon boyism. And I always talk about this because, like, first of all, who does that serve? I mean, it's very attractive. Top views on most platforms will be around like Bitcoin to 100,000 because that's what people want to hear. But the reality is, that's just not usually how easy it is. And I take it really personally when somebody's coming here to listen to what I have to say and maybe even take action based on what I'm doing, which you shouldn't do. But I understand the reality is, and I did the same thing. Carter Thomas, I don't know if he's streaming much anymore, but in 2017 he was, and I used to love his stuff. And he would bring the calm, cool, collected, I know what I'm doing and I can help you understand it better kind of attitude. But I take that seriously, and I don't want anyone to get unnecessarily risked because of some shit that I say. So I appreciate that you guys, it sounds like you're in there community focused and not there for a quick buck and all that stuff.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons we're going to have you on later this week. If we didn't have that vibe from you, we wouldn't have said that, and have me here on the channel. So it's really cool, man. That's another thing with Web3. Like, we've connected to a couple of the communities that are stopping by today. Easy and Crypto has Meme Force, which he does a great job with. They do a lot of cool events, and then NFT Army as well as in the house. So the idea that Web3 communities can interact together is amazing. But I guess I'll just leave you with one more reason why we started Lads, and that'll be it.
Sure.
A lot of times, when you hear about, famous people and whether they be artists, streamers, podcasters, they kind of always end the podcast or their different content with like, I couldn't have done it without my fans. Right. And that's awesome. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, yes, you should definitely thank it. But I feel like the reason we started Lads was because we saw like a fundamental like emptiness when it came to that interaction. Right. So like I listened to J. Cole back when he was like first starting, and I loved J. Cole. I can think of the same about Mac Miller, and they always they got super famous. And technically another fan could be in their basement listening to J. Cole while he's not famous. And then he gets famous. 6 years later, he's saying, I couldn't have done it without my fans, but that person might still be in the basement, and that is not an aligned relationship. If you're listening to someone early on and you help support them, you should in some form or fashion get rewarded for that. But there's nothing that exists in Web 2 right now that allows that. But if you're an early J. Cole supporter and he gets famous, you should maybe have some J. Cole utility kind of ways that you can interact.
Some early and autographed merch that you can hit up at auction in 10 years and get yourself out of debt.
Boom. Why not? Why? Those are things that don't exist now, that
bring the early squad up with you. I mean, I like that in theory, right? And then somebody could flip it around and argue, be like, well, you paid for this and I delivered you music, which was a beautiful experience. And that was our relationship. That was the end of it. But you're saying, the idea that Web3 can give more to that, and it can offer more. And if you're an early adopter, if you're getting in on some of these social tokens early, you're supporting the community, that can have a positive feedback loop as that community grows.
100%.
See these Lads OGs that are sitting in there on a bag of tokens that they got at bottom dollar or airdropped, through rewards. And then, maybe in 5 years, 2 years, this thing's blown up and those are trading at a much higher level, and you feel like you've brought them up with you.
And not only that,
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, but not only that, they get to interact with you. Some of the top holders in Lads have approached us and said, I want to build this for Lads. So now they're hosting a game night every Friday, or now they're building different tools for our wallet so that we can track what Lads do on these different sales. Like, that's the situation. They not only are come up with it, they're helping build everything.
Yeah, they're getting involved. And that strengthens it. I mean, I say that all the time on stream. I mean, a lot of my best trade ideas, some of my best trades of last year, they came from ideas that guys in this chat were just dropping. And they're just like, hey, check out this chart. And I pull it up. I'm like, holy shit, like SRM is right at the breakout level. That was my biggest trade last week. Somebody shilled Serum to me. And I say shilled. I mean, they just said, check this chart out. So again, bringing that value from the community and then sharing it around, giving it back and growing together. It's an honest day's work. I mean, I think that's the right idea. Trying to, and that's part of why I love crypto. It's decentralizing the everything really. And it's like, instead of one person getting everything and everyone else just kind of toting the bag, it's like, no, we're all going to move up together. And now blockchain enables that.
Exactly. It's the term I've been using more recently in like the last 2 weeks is like life ROI. Like what NFTs shown in Axie is that someone can play a game and get rewarded to do that, like play to earn. You can do that in social. You can do that with a lot of other crypto things, where things you do in your everyday life will start to have a return on investment, maybe financially, maybe not, but you have that situation with Web3. So Yeah, man, it's a incredible time. We're still having to build some certain things out. We're only 3 months old as far as the token's concerned. So one of the questions you asked me is like, how do you drive utility? And that's a question for each creator, right? And that's something that we're learning with and doing that. But I mean, you could foresee if Kanye launched a personal token today, what the utility of that would be, right? Like if he even
totally. I mean, that's the thing. He has super fans, right?
exactly.
So he'd be like, I'm buying the shit out of that. I want a whole bunch of it. You're kind of like buying equity in the person, in the channel, in the creator.
Yeah.
So.
I wouldn't, I'm not going to say that. That's not financial advice whatsoever, but
Okay. You can't agree on that, but my view as it, and then in a layman sense, I look at it, I'm like, okay, like for the Kanye example, what they're essentially would be doing is saying like, oh yeah, I'm long Kanye. Like, I think he's going to continue to do really well, and this coin's new, blah blah blah. So
yep,
it's kind of cool, man. I think you've hinted that you got to go. We are getting to that hour and a half. We do got to wrap. I will leave. You know what? Actually, I was going to say no. Okay, I'm going to stick around. I'm going to stick around for like 10 more minutes, guys. I got a couple charts I want to go over today. I don't want to leave it without touching on a few altcoins. I know there's been a couple requests in the chat. So shout out to the lads who came and joined us today. Really appreciate you guys coming in, checking out Hxro Labs. Hope you enjoyed our digs and the content. I'll be on here Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2 p.m. If you guys liked what you saw today, please hit us up with a like and a sub. Just shows us and our bosses that we're doing things that you enjoy. And if there's any feedback you have for us, hit us up in the comments or DMs on Twitter at Real Hxro Labs. You can always hit us up with, hey, I'd like to see more of this, or hey, you missed that, or hey, I love that. And shout out to our producer, as always, on the back end, building up the set, rerunning everything when it freezes midstream, keeping us running smooth. Thank you guys for coming by today. And thank you, Q, for joining me here in Hxro Labs live on a Monday, bloody Monday, as it were. But we put a little sunshine in there in the afternoon. So thank you.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. And like I was talking about earlier, it's all about collaboration with people that we want to be associated with. So you guys are definitely one of them. Appreciate your community as well. Thanks to all the NFT army, the lads, everybody that showed up today, giving support. Thank you so much. We're actually doing Layer 1 live here in like 30 minutes. So maybe hop on over after you're done, RT, and see what we've got going on over at Layer 1. And we can definitely work together in the future, man.
Funny story. Well, yeah. So I'm going to be on Friday for sure. I'm looking forward to that. Actually, right after Hxro Labs Live on Friday. Sounds like the timing wise, I'll be slipping on there with you guys, which is great. Funny story. I actually have a black market haircut coming up in about 20 minutes. We're in full lockdown, but I know a guy, and he's coming over to hook me up because my mop is getting out of control and it's driving me nuts, making me feel really gross. So I'm going to be getting a haircut in about 20 minutes. Other than that, I want to come check out what you guys are doing on Layer 1. And if you guys are watching here and you're one of the Hxro Labs guys, I'll be on there Friday. But you don't have to wait for that. You can slide over there, throw them a sub, throw them a like, check what they're doing. I'm excited to learn more.
Yeah, 100%. So you must be either West Coast or Northeast if you're on full lockdown mode.
Well,
I'm in the South. We're not locked down too much. So
yeah, no, it's I'm in the East. I'm in Canada, but it's
okay.
Salons, things like haircuts. I got one in November, and I haven't since, and it's getting hairy. So.
Our buddy XPlow in the chat, one of the lads is saying bull cut for the win. So hopefully.
Yeah. No, man, this guy's good. He actually hit me up back in the spring too, when everything was like super locked down. And my roommate's like, yeah, I know a guy. He's a hair guy. And I was like, okay, call him up. I'll pay him cash. So today I'm going to ask him if he accepts Bitcoin. But we'll find out.
Awesome.
Give you 0.0002 Bitcoin for a haircut. Okay. Have a great day. I'm going to stay on, guys. So don't go anywhere. If you want to watch, I'm going to tell you about this Ethereum long that might have just come in while we were chatting, and some altcoins. We'll just do a quick 10-minute little sesh. So take care, Q, and I'll catch you on Friday. Okay, guys, let's get back over to the chart real quick. I do have to go. As I said, I've got this black market haircut. Just makes it sound way cooler. It's more just like a guy in my kitchen. But let's check out Ethereum. And I said this to the producer before the show. I was like, bro, I know that this setup is going to come in during the stream. It's just sort of uncanny. It's the way she goes. Don't mind it. We could still go down here. I'm not going to, who knows? It always feels like that. When you're shorting up around the highs, you just feel like you're going to get blown out. When you're shorting near the lows, you feel like you're going to get washed. I'm looking at Ethereum, but basically same setup on Bitcoin. And, like this morning, like I said, this happened. And I thought, oh, that's pretty strong. On the 15-minute on the Bitcoin, there was a lot of buy volume outweighing. So when it dipped down to here, right, there's a little short RLZ in that little move, and I bought. And my stop loss was like a little below the lows. So I got stopped. And obviously my idea was to take it up to here. So that same thing is happening here. So the question is, and this goes with the shorting as well, right? Sometimes you're like, your idea is on the 4 hour, you're seeing a whole bunch of weakness. So like right here, there was some weakness in the market. And so I like, oh, I'm going to short that. And then, a couple days later you get stopped out. You're like, oh no. But if your idea stands, if the new push to highs, or in this case, the new push to lows is on even more divergence, should I be abandoning my idea? And that's what I'm struggling with today, because I don't really like obviously losing, and it don't fight the trend. If we flipped and we're headed bearish, do I want to lose a bunch of money trying to long it on day one? Those are the questions I got to ask myself. And so to avoid all that headache, I really just have to have a trading plan. I have to, I have to have this kind of stuff pre-vetted. So, do I have a limit? 3 bad trades a day, and then I'm turning it off for the day. I know a lot of traders who do that. They say, no, it's not my day. This is not my move. And so here I got stopped out. Do I take another shot? And my answer was yes. I was going to long this short long RLZ right here, because it's the same thing, right? You wait for that bottom to come in. You can see the 15 minutes been trending up on the RSI for like hours now. And even as that new low came in right here, there was another higher low. So my thesis around momentum slowing, maybe bottom coming in, has not been invalidated. My level was invalidated, but if anything, it should be even a better long from that new low, from this little, because like if it was good here, it's great down here. And then obviously if it gets lost again, then I have one more bullet to fire. And then it's like, okay, just, admit you're wrong. Your idea sucks, or it was just way out of time. And that's part of it too. So, long story short, look at this sweet spot tab. I mean, that's the fucking shit. That's what we do. That's 2:30 though. So it was during the stream, so I didn't catch that. Theoretically could have had it pre-programmed. So I'm not going to blame the stream entirely. I was, to be honest, a little bit on the fence with how I felt about that long, but yeah, there it is. So let's do a paper trade. Let's say that was my setup. This green line, remember this green dotted line is that big weekly level, well over to the left there. So 3-1. I only need to get to here, right? So if I'm banging out this trade and it's 50% win rate, meaning half the time I'm just eating shit and half the time I'm getting paid, I like that's 3-1. I'm profitable, and I only have to do that. You only have to get up to 1,065. So it's late now. This thing's late now because look, it warps it completely. If I'm doing that now, well, now to hit my, now to get paid, I have to go all the way up here. So you see how that's so skewed, right? So just this little bit of move totally warps what I need to get out of the trade to make it fit my trading plan. So I can't long this yet. On spot, I'm still holding, but I'm going to put an alert here. Let's say 910. Wouldn't want to see price go down below that. That would invalidate my current setup, my current idea. So we'll see. But anyways, long story short, this looks like could be the local bottom. And I said that here. I was wrong. Said that here. Slightly better chance of it being true. And if this breaks, I think I'm just going to give up on the idea. It's also not unheard of for this to just come back down one more time. So I might have to consider that. But anyways, let's do a couple of appreciate you guys. Thanks for all the well wishes in the chat there. If you're heading out, have a wonderful day. If you're sticking around, let's get a couple of quick charts. I know I say 10 minutes and then I talk for like 6 of them. But I wanted to walk through my thinking on ETH because it does look like it's going to go up to 1,200 this week. Would that be weird at all? Right? Rally through last week, even, let's go to the hourly, like even popping up on Saturday night, big fake out rally during like the public when all the big wigs are sleeping, and they just come in Sunday and Monday and just tank it. Weirdly close to buying levels on retracements, and then spend the entire week squeezing the public that panicked. And then, the real decision is up here. Are we a bull? Or was it all just a big game and we're actually going down to the reload zone? So I would not be shocked at all. And that's why I was so keen to catch the long today. So we'll see. Maybe I can still get in, but I'm not going to chase. I'm going to stick to my plan. Another day. But yeah, this looks really good as far as what I would want to see to think that this might actually turn back up over the next 48 hours, 72 hours. Solana gross chart. Don't know why this is an old one. Yeah, what do you guys got? I saw a couple of requests. I think EWT is the only one. Doge. All right. Shane asks, I deliver. See you, Shane. Let's go check out Doge. Oh my God. I mean, USD, everything is going to be down today. I think more importantly for today is probably to look at some of these BTC pairs. Because look, everyone's saying, right, as soon as Bitcoin chills out, as soon as Bitcoin relaxes, as soon as Bitcoin stops going up, altcoins will party. Well, newsflash, Bitcoin stopped going up. But the first pullback is not when the altcoins party. It's usually once Bitcoin finds a range. So, altcoins getting wrecked, altcoins getting even more wrecked, altcoin party or whatever, So keep that in mind. There's no rule that they have to, but I actually think they probably will. So Doge is at a cool level. Again, right? Spend that whole week worrying about it, chasing it. Just relax. Find the reload zone. Park your bids. Doesn't mean it's going to stop going down here, but it's just that nice higher value level you can start thinking about. Get a level down here. 786 traders are going to love that. Got a level down here. 88.6 traders are going to love that. You can see here, right off the highs. You can see here, I said. Bing. Right. So wouldn't be shocked to get this kind of stuff too, where it's just a big, bleedy, shitty week. And as soon as you're totally dejected and ready to quit, it reverses. So keep an eye on that. That's a lot of how bull cycles work as well. It's never just easy to hodl. If it was, everyone would do it. Okay, let's see the Doge chart that matters. Dog. Let's make sure that, okay, no texts from my hair guy. He's coming in hot. Save me from this overgrown mess that's living on my head. Wow, Doge Bitcoin actually looks really good. I mean, like, what do you want, right? You want bullish divergence? Kind of had that as we slid into the lows. You want bullish market structure? We had that as we broke through these highs. You want to wait for the retest? We've got that. We're even tagging the sweet spot. You want volume to stamp of approval this whole thing? Yep. Damn. I don't know, Shane. You might have got me to just buy my first Doge ever. I mean, it's hard on a day like today, right? Because you look at the high time frame charts, let me find one, and you just think, oh shit, was that the top? And from this perspective, it certainly looks terrible. 5 candles, like fractal kind of shit. But don't be surprised if the next few days are like that, and then we're back in, and everything that dumped today just whips back up, and then it's like, holy shit! Oh my god, it was a trap. It's not the top. That's possible, although this volume is insane. So it's tough. Anytime there's talk of pivot, it's very tough to then objectively just go look at this chart and say, yeah, I'm going to just, business as usual, take my long because that's a setup that came in. But as I get older, and wiser, and more experienced, I tend to want to just remove the noise, find the rules for taking a trade. Oh, are they satisfied? Take the trade. Play it out. Let her go. But don't forget to size down because this is a fat 40% drop to the invalidation. So being the big bear that I am, I might even try to wait. 33%, barely better, but it's a little there. And then look, you only really need to go to the highs to get your 3-to-1. Kind of cool. So what does that look like, That's like, Jesus, that's April over here. So keep in mind, scale appropriately. Yeah, Doge actually looks pretty good. I mean, as far as like a meme goes, I don't trade it because I always just think if price went down, I'd be like, of course it did. It's a stupid coin. If price went up, I'd be like, oh man, that was lucky. Like I can't hold through dips when I don't believe in what the coin is being driven by. It's part of why, I've been pretty obsessed with Solana this week. I really think that they're going to do well. I think the token will, just be used a lot. I think it kind of, it's funny though, because like, okay, super scalable, but look at the fees. So if that's the cost of the fee, you would need X amount more demand to drive the same demand for the token because you spend so little of the token. If it is it a gas fee token? I don't know. I should learn that. Like, I'm bullish on the blockchain, and I know that the reality is speculation runs a lot further than actual demand. So, that's why you get like pre-main nets, things will just go crazy, and then the main net launches, and they're like, oh yeah, nobody actually uses the token. Sell the news. But I think this one in general is just going to do well. So I am hunting. I got kicked out of Solana today at 3:15. So I have a little bit of wiggle room, but I basically want to have a buy stop at 3:15. Like, I don't want to be out of that position. So if it can, if it keeps dropping, lucky me, I can get a better entry. If it goes back to 3:15, I don't know. I'll have to figure that out because I am not going to be without a Solana bag through whatever the rest of this breakout brings. Because I mean, look at this volume, just gorgeous. Let's see. Hey, Brian Zader. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. And Orchid Rain, appreciate you as well. Let's fly up there. The person who asked about EWT, I don't know if they're still here. Energy Web Token on Uniswap versus Ethereum. Most things look like that versus Ethereum, so it's tricky to chart. Let's go Tether. Really, most people are here to make money. For now, money is still US dollars or something similar. So let's just be real. Yeah, I mean, again, right? If this is something you're bullish on, then this is the day, generally speaking, the levels where you want to be buying. Like, I'm a bull. No, I don't want it anymore. Like, it's just funny, right? It's on sale. So if you're bullish on this token and you see this as kind of confirmation of bullish market structure, and I always say this, right? After you get the structure, then you draw the RLZ and you can usually get a fill. Well, today is that day. And it's pretty much true for everything. Let's go check one of the ones. Again, got stopped out on this one. Had a really good week, though. Like, whoever suggested this one, I appreciate you. Because I made a nice little chunk off this. Now, the chunk I made off it got cut fairly significantly. I'd say almost, I don't know, 40% from what the P&L was at one point versus what it ended at. But it is what it is. Now, look, I mean, I even said it on Twitter. I was like, I'm going to sell some here. It's like fib extensions, probably a great place for that pullback to happen. But then we had already had this tag, and I thought, oh, okay, cool. We're free to go. But then it still just went up. And this is why I draw these in all my charts, because for take profit 1, this is where I look. Because even if my ultimate target is up here, there's a trade in here. And it was a pretty good one. I mean, I longed it, sold some, stopped out on the rest, profit. And now I have to drag this up a bit. Now tag the reload zone. That's how it goes, right? So that's, in 2 months, if I'm not in this position and price is up here, somebody will say, they can look back and say, you overtraded it. You see, you had a position from here, but you sold it, here and here, and then you didn't get back in, and then it mooned. You're overtrading. So I have to be very cognizant because Serum is built, I believe, on Solana. Pretty sure. It's a DEX, and Uniswap is basically unusable anytime there's volatility, which is the best time to be trading. So I think there's a big case to be made for any DEX, anything like Uniswap that is not stuck in those ETH fees. Yes, Wildheart going to take a look at sand. Anyways, God, I think I just need to go get some of my position back on this one because it's bullish. I mean, look at this shit. Look at this shit. And then instead of coming over here and being like, well, I don't know, because that could have been the top. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that is. But I know what this is. And that is an asset trading against USD that looks bullish as fuck and has a great narrative for 2021. So if I'm nervous or if I'm hesitant, I just need to size down. Stop trying to hit the home run, right? Buy $50. I can do that. Buy $100. I can do that. Like, buy up to the amount that is either balanced with your risk profile, like, risking 1%, or if 1% feels like too much because everything's a little too crazy, take it down a bit. But I love Serum at this level. Bottom line. Even if, like perfect world, I'm more confident if we get something like that, get your structure, than buy that dip. I mean, I'd feel better about that, to be honest. But as far as like, okay, bought, sold, like I can already buy here, and that's arguably a successful short in some weird ways, just because ultimately I want to be in this long all the way up into these levels and maybe beyond. So, okay, I just talked myself into a long on Serum. Done. Remind me after the stream. Okay. Don't forget to buy Serum. I'm going to get some. Sand. This is NFT related. I traded it once around 420 Satoshis. Here's the, yeah, I mean, okay. Let me just shut up and analyze it before I start talking. Okay. So look, yeah, I mean, it's in a decent spot. Let's just double check the market cap. It's not the be all end all, but it helps. Holy shit. Okay. Technically, oh dear. Okay, one sec, guys. Might have to hop. Let me know when you arrive and I will open door. Okay, when haircut comes, I gotta just cut. It's gonna be quick and dirty because he's gonna be at my door in the cold. Okay. Let's see. $24 million market cap. That's low. That's got a lot of upside. I mean, we're seeing things at 300 million that double in 2 days. There is liquidity in the market. So let's get back to the chart. Serum, sand. And yeah, I mean, so look, trending down, looks like shit, trending down. Oh, maybe reversing. Confirmed bullish market structure. Follow it up with the fib. Now we're in the reload zone. So again, the closer it gets to these lows, the better the opportunity for the long. If you're calling it a bull, then where it moves within this range doesn't really matter. You just want it as low as possible. So 786 is pleased. That's 25. So it's still quite a range. This is the daily. So this is like months of price action. And then I would need, I should say, 3 to 1 to be happy with that risk if I bought like this exact minute. Yeah. And now look, if we're in a bull and we're saying, this was not the top, this was just a big gnarly dip. I mean, it was well overdue. You can see here how many red weeks did we have in the last 10, right? Like 4. I see 4 red candles since September. So we were due for a big nasty one. And if that's going to be it, and then it's just, oh my God, Ethereum 2000. If that's the kind of environment we are in, then these charts are absolutely screaming buy. And you have to pay money to find out. You have to put money at work. You have to put money at risk in the market to find out if that is correct, if that is going to be the way it goes. And this is a tough spot to be longing anything as far as like psychologically, but technically speaking, this is what you would have been waiting for, perhaps. Like this, all last week. Well, this is not the one I wanted, but all last week for Serum, it was like, yeah, if it hits this level, that's where I want to add. Well, here's my chance. Do I want to add? I don't know. I do, by the way, but it's not as easy to do than to talk about. Theo. Trending down, clearly. Hasn't had a whole lot of time to put in a base. So objectively speaking, I think there are sexier ones out there. The other thing I want to watch for with so many options in the market, so many pairs, so many things, is I have to be aware of opportunity cost. So I want to go where there's already buyers, where I see evidence of big volume stepping into support price. I don't see that here. I mean, I see one phantom wick. Somebody market bought a whole fuckload, it looks like. But in general, there's no pattern here that tells me like, oh man, like big volume buildup. This thing's going to blow. This thing just looks boring for now. And that just means it needs more time. And at some point, volume will come in and say, look, people are ready to buy. Let me give you an example of that. Another one I traded a lot last week. I mean, look, so here, right? Boring, dead. Bears fall asleep. The bulls wake up. Big volume. Way bigger than what the price action would suggest. and then it made new highs on the weekend on bearish divergence on the 4-hour. Bearish divergence. It basically said, yep, I'm a bull. I'm going to move up. Oh, weakness, coming back to reload, dipping into the reload zone. And it could just continue from here. But my guess is for the major alt rip season, we might need a little more time. And so you're going to end up with this kind of stuff on alts. So if anything, what you want to make sure you're doing is not like rushing in to buy every time it looks like it's going to break out. Where do you risk to? You're getting wrecked. If you see something consolidating and ranging and it looks like, like last week, everything looked like it was going to go ape shits. Well, you can't buy that, but wait for those reload zones and then start thinking about it. All right. So that is my cue, guys. I do have to run, getting text messages. I think someone's at my door. Yeah. Okay. BTC had a nice 15-minute candle with volume. God, let's go see that. Yeah, dude. I'm seriously, I almost like, because also, because I'm not in the trade that I wanted to be, I'm like, now I know it's going to go without me. Like, that's kind of silly. Market doesn't care what I did. It just happens to be the way she goes. Yep. Fuck. See, there you go, man. God damn it. Stings a little bit. Right, but wrong, but right is what I was this morning. I was right to be thinking long in this reload zone. I was wrong with my timing. And probably going to be hitting that target. Womp womp. Poor me. Yep. That's the way she goes, man. This can't argue with that. She looks good. She looks good. So, I got my spot exposure a little bit. Don't have much Bitcoin, to be honest. Mostly ETH for my spot. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. Would not be shocked at all to see this reverse here. I mean, come on, right? Big, nasty dump, slow dump, slow dump, slow dump, divergence everywhere, momentum indicators reversing. So, and once that cat's out of the bag, like this, it will be a fairly equally violent short squeeze probably, because it'll be like, oh my God, it was a trap. It was a trap. And then there's just going to be buying and cascading liquidated shorts, just sending it. So short squeezes tend to be pretty intense too. I guess the question is, was this whole thing today just a big dirty long squeeze? Where's the squeeze? I don't know. I wouldn't overthink it. Just trade your setups. That's what I was doing this morning. I got stopped out. I think I could take a second stab at it, but not at this level. I need to have a better entry. At the time frame I was looking at, I mean, this looks like you could argue that, it's in an area near a good entry, but we'll see. Yeah, appreciate it, Sohail. I mean, I wear a hat all the time, but you will get senses of it from my my air flaps on the side, little sticking out of this thing. I'm just looking forward to it because I just feel cleaner and better put together when I have a haircut. So anyways, have a wonderful week, guys. And whatever you do today, try not to get too caught up in the short-term price action, even if it does give us a big FU down candle. Managing risk the whole way along makes days like today a lot easier. I felt the sting. Trust me, I felt the sting. I saw my portfolio value go down with what I still had. Stopped out on my long for now. We'll see if I can get in on that, if I even want to. It's the way she goes. But if you're here for the big gains, if you're here for making money, you need to understand there's two ways in the market. So what we're going to be doing here is unpacking how we can spot those directions. There was some signals around the top that there was exhaustion in all this. But as often is the case, the market has this way of making you look left when perhaps you should be looking right. And as soon as I lost interest, earlier on, I had been doing a bit of shorting at some of the highs, trying to be the guy that got the top, and I lost all flavor for it 1 week before the local big dump came in. So, that's the way she goes, guys. Have a wonderful week. Yeah, take a chill pill and soldier on. We're going to be here all year, no matter what the price is, and walking through each step of the way and going over charts and bringing on guests and doing all that good stuff. So until Wednesday at 2 p.m. when I see you next, have a great day and always play from a position of strength. Take care, everybody.